Hello again, and welcome back to this Toronto Blue Jays sim of Out of the Park Baseball 21. I'm JayBlue, and we are on the General Manager Games channel. Thanks for sticking with us. This is the end of our second season. We've already finished. We didn't make the playoffs. We were in last place in the division and pretty bad. And I think if you look overall, our 66 and 96 record. Let's take a look at standings. Our 66 and 96 record is tied for second worst in the league. So the Tigers, the Rangers, the A's all had the same record. And if you look in the National League here, the Cincinnati Reds were worse. But everybody else was better. So we were pretty gosh darn bad. And really, I was kind of hoping for that, mainly just to get a higher draft pick, and picking high is going to help our prospects. And, down the road, that's kind of what we're trying to do, is build a winner. And part of the reason why we were so bad, and we're going to take a look at trying to analyze what went wrong. I think a lot of it was just, the guys that we picked and the guys that we picked up, weren't good. So I mean, it's a bit of an issue trying to just sort of say what exactly went wrong. But really, all of our pitchers, who are all of our players that we tried to bring in and help, really didn't work. And some of the holdovers from the previous regime and previous seasons, before we took over in 2020, some of those players really also didn't work out either. So this is our pitching stats from the regular season. Yeah, you notice there are two position players who are at the top there. Both Forrest Wall and Danny Jansen got a third of an inning in and had a 0 ERA. So here they're ranked by ERA from lowest to highest. I tend to try to just look at it by WAR, or if I just want to look at the starters, I'll just go here, ranked by games started. So as you see, we didn't have a particularly bad season when it came to starting pitchers. And when I say bad, I mean like we didn't use 12 starters. I think we had here 8. So we had Matt Boyd making the most number of starts, 31, but he was pretty bad, and he had a negative WHIP. Negative WAR, negative 0.1 WAR. The WHIP wasn't bad, 1.45. It wasn't horrible. It's sort of middle of the pack. Strikeouts to walk ratio, not bad either. But he got hit with a lot of home runs, 37 home runs. I actually wonder if that's like a league-leading 37 home runs allowed. It's not. He did lead the league in home runs in 2019, but was able to keep his ERA down. And he had fewer innings, so 37 home runs. Wrong. Here we go. We're going to go by game started. Sorry. So 37 home runs in 159 and 2/3 innings, and when he led the league, he actually threw over 180 innings. Doing much better, and I think our pitcher with the top WAR was Anthony Kay. Anthony Kay had a 3 WAR. Really strong season. He was a starter when he was healthy. 28 starts for him, 154 and 2/3 innings, 148 strikeouts, so just under a strikeout per inning, and 55 walks, so that's pretty decent. And almost a 3-to-1 ratio of strikeouts to walks. The key here was his BABIP was a little bit low, but not horrible, and he had a 3.67 ERA, 1.26 WHIP, and was very solid, even though he had a 5-11 record. And again, pitcher wins don't mean anything. Third on our list in starts is Hyunjin Ryu. Had a bit of an injury issue. He threw 119 and 2/3 innings. That inning total is likely very low because he was just bad. 4-12 record, but 5.57 ERA, 1.54 WHIP. That's the second highest of any of our real regular starters. And we'll get to the highest one in a minute. And so he only posted 0.6 WAR for his $20 million contract. I'd like to move him. I don't think anyone's going to take him, but he's got another year at 20 million. Actually, another 2 seasons at 20 million. So I may have to eat some of that contract if we're going to trade him. Then we have, and of course, since we left the screen, we have to re-rank. Then we have Nate Pearson, 26 starts, 3.41 ERA, 189 strikeouts for 137 innings. That's pretty outstanding. And just 38 walks. So he did spend some time on the injured list. And we've also looked at his overall ratings, and his stamina being at 45 is what is keeping him from actually really excelling and really opening up the number of innings at 137 and a third, almost exactly the same as he had last year. He did post improvements year over year in strikeout rate, in walk rate. His home run rate went up. He gave up 27 home runs this year, and that is going to happen. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher. Now, he does have the potential to improve his curveball and changeup, and that could get him to that 5-star rating that he could have. So he could continue to be our ace. He did have a lower WAR at 2.8 this season, but really strong season for Nate Pearson. So we're not going to expect too many innings. If he throws 160 innings in a year, I think that's going to be great for him. Especially if he can really control his his pitches, and not let his pitch counts get too high. Now, Sean Reed-Foley made 17 starts, so he was the, 5th starter if you look in terms of number of starts made. Threw almost 100 innings, 84 strikeouts, 39 walks. This is actually really good for Sean Reed-Foley. 1.3 WAR, and he's only 26, so he still hopefully will have a little bit more improvement left. He looks like he can improve a little bit, and it's probably in his stuff, just a tiny bit of his stuff. And then Paul Campbell, 14 starts for him, 4.79 ERA, 0.9 WAR, 71 strikeouts, 18 walks, and 82 2/3. And he's got very good control, so he's not going to walk a lot of guys. He would be a very, very serviceable 5th starter with the type of stuff he has. Not great stuff, but good control, and he can eat some innings for us. So, it's nice to have him around. He could definitely be a 5th starter. Tanner Roark, we released him partway through the year. He signed on with the Chicago Cubs and is currently in AAA. He actually didn't make the major leagues with the Cubs. With the Jays, however, he had an 8.38 ERA, 1.66 WAR, that is WHIP, that is the highest WHIP, negative 1.2 WAR. Just was a horrible burden on our pitching staff. So he was the one big holdover from the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays signings before the 2020 season with Roark, Ryu, Shun Yamaguchi, Chase Anderson being acquired. Chase Anderson's no longer with us. Matt Shoemaker he was around a little bit before. So, Tanner Roark is, we're better off, I think, without him. And then also making 7 starts with Spencer Turnbull, who we picked up in a trade in the offseason. Again, he wasn't great, but he actually excelled a little bit more in a relief role. So if we go here into our pitching splits, you can see that he had a 5.60 ERA and 1.55 WHIP with 103 strikeouts, 4.9, 49 walks, and 106 innings as a starter. But when we brought him in as a reliever, that ERA dropped to 3.38, 139 WHIP, and 35 walks. So that strikeout rate, or 35 strikeouts, that strikeout rate rocketed up 3 per 9 innings, and he did lower his walk rate just a little bit. So I think Spencer Turnbull is going to be a bullpen piece from now on. He really, really excelled as a relief pitcher. So that's our starters. And we're going to go now and take a look at the bullpen. And generally, to look at the bullpen, I just organize here by games. And so Shun Yamaguchi led the way in games at 68. He also threw 108 2/3 innings, so he has good stamina for that. His strikeout rate, excellent. Walk rate, it's okay. It's not actually that great. But the home runs are the killer. He did lead the league in appearances, at least the AL. He struck out fewer than he did in 2020, according to rate. And he walked 0.1 batter more per 9 innings. The home run rate did go down a little bit, so that is not so bad. It's interesting because his stuff here is a 60, and his the movement is what's the killer. And I think he's at the end of his contract, so he's got an auto renew for $3.175 million. I'm probably going to decline that, so I think he's going to be a guy that I non-tender, as they say. Wade Davis, another solid year, 0.7 WAR. He had more WAR than Yamaguchi or Danny Jimenez. Danny Jimenez, a decent year, 0.5 WAR. Lots of strikeouts for Jimenez, but a lot of walks. 75 innings for him, so he, again, not bad. But Wade Davis really did a lot of work. 57 innings, 58 games, 0.7 WAR, 1.24 whip. Really nice stuff from him. And he contractually, he has an option, and a $5 million team option is probably, decent for what he's going to do out of the bullpen. So I may give him one more year, pick up that option, give him another year. The third player in terms of games was Ken Giles. Ken Giles, who is going for Tommy John surgery in real life, unfortunately, was a stud for us once again, logging, 2.7 WAR. That's, I think, third on the team. Yeah, third on the team, and he only pitched 57 innings. But, that's pretty stellar. 33 saves, not that saves mean anything, 2.21 ERA, 97 strikeouts in 57 innings. And this is why Giles is making the big bucks, $11 million. He's got 2 more years, one for sure, one as a team option with a $2 million buyout. So this is why Kenny G is, he was the reliever of the year last year. He may be in the running for that again this year. He had even more WAR this year than last year, and that was, with a higher BABIP. He had a lower whip. He had a higher ERA, but his BABIP was up, like 15 points from where it was the year before. So seeing that, he did give up a couple more home runs. He gave up 7 home runs instead of 5, but he walked like almost half the number of guys. So 2.2 walks per 9 innings, 15.3. Like everything is just stellar with this guy. So glad I gave him that contract extension. The Blue Jays in real life are going to be in a much more difficult position trying to decide what to do. All right, Wilmer Font, who I think he's on the injured list right now. No, he is rested. He's angry. He wants to be playing in the majors. He may be in Buffalo. Yeah, he's in Buffalo. So he wasn't very good. His strikeout to walk ratio is fine, but the home run rate is quite high. Walk rate is high, even though he struck out quite a few guys. And negative 0.6 WAR. Oopsie, there we go. Tim Meza, not great. Not great for Tim Meza. He had a negative WAR as well. And Rafael Dolis, also positive WAR, 0.2, but he's not striking out a lot of guys. 39 1/3 innings. Jordan Romano was not very good. He was good last year. 2.25 ERA, but that was in Buffalo this year, and 3.39 last year, 94 strikeouts in 66 1/3 innings. So Romano, again, this movement rating is going to be problematic. He had a 2.2 home run per 9 inning rate, and that is the problem. And that's why when we're drafting, when we are trading for guys, we're really looking for that that movement rating to be high, because the American League East is a very, very tough division for home runs. Zach Eflin was pretty solid when we brought him up. I like this 31 strikeouts to 7 walk ratio and 1.14 whip a lot, but he did also have negative 0.4 WAR. He gave up 2.5 home runs per 9 innings, so that's, again, very high. 45 movement rating, so it should be better than some of the guys like Jordan Romano or Tanner Roark. But, yeah, I mean, like, he was okay. not the worst pitcher for the team. Amir Garrett was a guy we picked up on waivers who just didn't pan out. He is now in Buffalo. I think we put him through waivers or sent him down. But again, home runs, 7 home runs in 25 innings. Tanner Roark, we've talked about. Curtis Taylor, he was a really nice surprise coming up late in the season after a solid year in Buffalo. And even though he's just a 2-star guy, he had a 3.31 ERA and 1.16 whip in 16 1/3 innings, making his major league debut. So that's really nice to see. Trent Thornton also pitched out of the bullpen a little bit, but was pretty bad. Gave up 5 home runs in just 10 2/3 innings, so that's terrible. Anthony Banda is another guy we picked up on waivers, and the jury is still out on him. I like his stuff. His movement should be fine. 9 innings, but he gave up 5 runs in 9 innings for us. Johan Lopez is another guy who we picked up on waivers. He's in Buffalo now, pitching much better in Buffalo than in Toronto. He's 28, as you can see, but he walked 4, struck out 4 in 6 1/3 innings, giving up 6 1/3 innings. He gave up 7 runs. Ryan Barucki also struggled. Ty Tice, we gave him a shot in the majors. He had a very solid season with Buffalo. Didn't do well, but that was his first exposure to big league baseball. Julian Merriweather, also another, he didn't pitch much in Toronto. Very, very good in Buffalo. But again, he needs to pitch at the big league level, and that movement of 30 rating is problematic. And that's the pitching. We're going to go over to the hitting. And here I generally like to rank by usually OPS or WAR. Nate Pearson led the team in OPS with .1 WAR on the hitting side, thanks to going 1 for 3 with a home run. But seriously, about our regular hitters, we've got Vladdy Guerrero, 3.7 WAR and 856 OPS. 27 home runs, 33 doubles. Now, this doesn't rank as nicely compared to last year. Last year, he had a .588 slugging percentage. This year, that dropped 100 points, despite only an 18-point drop in batting average. He hit 40 home runs last year and 27 this year. So, he also dropped a lot of doubles. So, about the same amount of games, same amount of plate appearances. Really, the drop for him was in power. He lost 18 points of batting average. He lost 26 points in on-base percentage, 10 fewer walks, 11 more strikeouts, which means he's not putting the ball in play quite as much. Hopefully, he has achieved his potential, which means, there may be little improvements here because he does have half a star that he's able to add. And hopefully some of that is going to be in the eye. Like maybe he's not a high 50, he's a low 50, or home run power, it's not a high 65, it's a low 65. So there may be some wiggle room in there that he'll be able to achieve. Surprisingly, our number 2 offensive player, both in OPS and WAR, is Billy McKinney. Billy McKinney played in 130 games, 23 home runs, 29 doubles. In real life, Billy McKinney was put on waivers and claimed by the Milwaukee Brewers. But 262, 336, 475. So his slugging percentage was actually almost as high as Vladdy Guerrero's, and his isolated power is actually higher because he had 186 isolated slugging, if we look at that. And here it's actually 213 if we look at it. So we actually had like almost a 30 point better isolated slugging for Billy McKinney. Kevin Biggio had a 100-point drop between OPS between our number 2 guy, Billy McKinney, and our number 3 guy, Kevin Biggio. Biggio had an OPS plus of 84, so he was 16% below league average in offense. This is nice to see. 16 stolen bases, caught stealing 0 times. Really, really good base stealer, decent enough speed. Defensively, part of that WAR is, he had some decent defense. Second base in Buffalo, but in Toronto, he played mostly second base. -0 WAR. So, like, pretty much, or -0 zone rating. So, pretty solid for Biggio. Again, that 40 contact rating is really going to hurt him in terms of batting average. About the same as last year, but he did walk a little bit more. He walked one more time, but in 73 fewer plate appearances. So a higher on-base percentage, and the slugging percentage was definitely a big improvement from 2020. But I have a feeling that for Biggio, this may be as good as it gets. An 84 OPS plus, maybe up to about 90 in a good year. The only way to see is to check his BABIP. And we have to check the expanded batting stats there. So, he had actually a 10-point lower BABIP this year than last year, which is actually fine. And his weighted runs created plus, runs created plus, weighted runs created plus, is a stat that also, like OPS plus, ranks him compared to league average, with 100 being league average. So 91, he was 9% worse in that computation of offensive value, as opposed to OPS plus, where he was 16% worse. Jonathan Lukroy, really contributing well. So he's a guy I'm actually going to look to possibly sign as a free agent. He only cost me $2.6 million this year. His contract is over. Does he get his bonus? Let's see. 480 plate appearances? No, he doesn't get his bonus. But he did take a more significant role as the season went on. His defense is excellent, and I have a feeling that he could be a pretty good mentor for Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk, who's probably going to be with the Major League team in 2022. So Lukroy, not great offense. Better than Danny Jansen, much better than Danny Jansen. But his defense, that's an interesting expanded fielding stats. That's interesting that they have that this year. 31.9% caught stealing, excellent defensive efficiency, excellent zone rating. I'm talking about how he was good, how good he was at catching balls that were either likely, routine, even sort of like average, unlikely, remote possibility of him catching, how many of those he caught. So I'd like to re-sign him if he's going to be less expensive than he is now. Bo Bichette was third at 1.1 WAR, and the high number of caught stealing for me is troublesome. His offensive decline is troublesome. Danny Jansen did contribute 0.5 WAR, but with very poor offensive statistics. And that tells me a lot about his fielding. Didn't throw out a lot of runners, but very good efficiency. And he should be able to produce more with the bat. 311, 328 for a 639 OPS is pretty trashy. Anyway, Yusniel Diaz made a comeback. He started off pretty poorly, but made a comeback. 7 home runs for him. 15 home runs for him. He's still pretty young, and he does have this nice profile that would give him sort of major league average production if he gets untracked. Now, this year was his second year in the major leagues, and if he can put up a profile like he did in 2020 with Baltimore, that's going to be great. That was only 115 plate appearances. This year he got 382, so he probably was exposed a little more. But I'd like to see something more like this line here. And Diaz is still learning center field, so I'm probably going to put him in center field in spring training, and hopefully that will ramp up that number a little bit. Luis Garcia also faded halfway through the year. If we look at his game log, which is under batting stats, game log. So if we look at his game log, you can see that as late as, here we go, almost there, as late as July 3rd, he was hitting over 300, and that batting average sort of started to drop. 285, I mean, he was at 285 and a 287, a 286. He's over 280 as late as middle of August, and then it just kind of plummeted. 260s, hovering in the 260s, 250s, 260, and 240s, and a 2-for-4 game at the end of the year, 1-for-3, 1-for-3. So 3 solid games at the end of the year allowed him to get over that 250 mark. But he doesn't have a lot of power right now, and probably never will. His eye still has time to develop. So if we can get him to that 40 home run power, 60 eye, that 252, 285, 385 is probably going to look more like, 270, 320, and maybe, 450. And if we can do that, I think that's fine. Defensively, third base is probably his jam long term. Defensively, he wasn't great anywhere, but he's only 21 years old, and this is the best thing about him, and this is why I chose him in the Rule 5 draft, is that he also has some speed and is, these little things like his defense, his base running, his stealing, these things make him a very, very useful player. And the fact that he can play 3 infield positions, not well, but 3 infield positions. And his youth and his ability to put the ball in play is going to, I think, bolster him. So this is why I chose him. Only 20 years old at the time when I chose him in the Rule 5 draft. So glad to have him on the team. He positive WAR as a 21-year-old rookie. Always a great thing to see at the beginning of a career. Santiago Espinal, not great. Backup role, he was okay in that role. Lourdes Gurriel, also 0.1 WAR. He was injured a bit, and very disappointing season. I mean, his average was down like 55 points. On base percentage, he's never going to walk a lot. And slugging percentage, his isolated slugging was actually a little bit up because it's tied into batting average. It's calculated kind of the same way. So isolated slugging is slugging percentage minus batting average. So last year it was like 222, and this year it was like 239. Yeah, 239. But he only hit 14 home runs. Very disappointing year for Lourdes Gurriel. And then we have the negative folks. Forrest Wall as a rookie, not bad, but definitely not really contributing much. And here we get Randall Grichuk, negative 0.5. His batting average never got to the 200 level. On base percentage was 255. So even though he had 27 home runs, he struck out 197 times. And that's in 133 games. That's not in, 160 games. Yeah, he's really sucking the life out of the offense. And let's go back to our ranking by WAR. JD Martinez, who we're also paying a lot of money to. We thought he could help us in our surprise solid stretch last year. He's got a 717 OPS, which is better than pretty much everybody. If we rank by OPS, here he is, here just below Lourdes Gurriel. But negative 0.5 WAR because it's not great, and he doesn't really play any defensive position, so he's not getting points for that. So we're actually paying, basically like $17.5 million. And he's got one more year on his contract. Nobody wants to trade for him. So that sucks. We're stuck with him for another year. So it's probably going to take 2 years for us to get out of all these bad contracts. Hopefully we can trade Ryu, and we'll see what happens. We talked about Grichuk, and Negative War Club was also Travis Shaw. Travis Shaw, 193, 271, 413. So, I mean, he had a decent slugging percentage, especially compared to what he was doing offensively. But fortunately, his contract is up, so we can not have to worry about re-signing him. And Joe Panik didn't play much, but he was bad when he did. So he's on a minor league deal. He's a free agent already. We might have released him, actually, partway through the season. Yeah, we released him at the end of August. He was just sucking the life out of our team. So that's the look at our major league team over the course of 2021. We are going to sim. There's an important message. Yeah, the playoffs begin. Great. We're going to sim the playoffs. Get through that. We're going to get to our end of the season, and that's going to be it for season 2. So here we go. I just want to find the playoff coverage page. So let's see the playoff tree. Here we go. We've got the wild card games, San Diego Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Angels. There's an important message. Regular season ended. Yeah, I know that, guys. Okay, back to the playoff coverage, and we've got the Angels and the Rays. And the San Diego Padres win the wild card game in the National League, and in the American League, we have the Tampa Bay Rays. So here we go. Round 1, Tampa Bay, Houston, San Diego, LA, and then White Sox, Red Sox, and Braves and Cardinals. And the Dodgers and Cardinals get off to a good start. In the American League, it's the White Sox and the Rays. The Dodgers and Cardinals both have 2 games apiece. 2 games apiece. It's like everybody is winning the games that they're winning. It's Tampa Bay White Sox, LA St. Louis, and the Cards and Dodgers sweep. And, the Red Sox won a game, making it a series. And the Tampa Bay Rays sweep their series. Nate Pearson is healthy. That's always nice. We're going to put him on. So we can't activate him technically because we have our full roster. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody we can just release because we're not going to keep him. I might keep Yamaguchi if he's going to be cheaper. No, I'm just going to send Taylor down to the minors. Make room for Nate Pearson on the roster. Okay. And back we go to the playoff coverage, playoff tree, and the Red Sox even the series here in the American League. I think we had a day off, and the White Sox take it. So, setting up our league championship series, Tampa Bay and Chicago versus St. Louis and the Dodgers. And we have the Dodgers taking game 1. White Sox taking game 1 with the Dodgers taking game 2. Tampa Bay Rays evening up the series. Dodgers out to a 3-0 lead. Cardinals grab a game, and it's a 2-1 lead in the American League for Tampa Bay. And the Dodgers win in the National League while the White Sox even the series. Tampa Bay goes 3-2, and they had a day off in the American League. And in Game 7, it's the Tampa Bay Rays winning it, facing the LA Dodgers in the World Series. Here we go, folks. And we need to start the World Series. Tampa Bay takes Game 1 and 2, and a day off. And Game 3 goes to the Dodgers, 2-1 series, 3-1 now for the Tampa Bay Rays. Here we go. LA Dodgers stave off elimination. And a day off. And the World Series champions are your Tampa Bay Rays. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tampa Bay Rays. So we did sign a prospect here. This is Vargas. He is not going to be much. any other news really matters. Yeah, we got a Venezuelan minor leaguer. Okay, he might not be okay. He might not be bad. So Yusniel Diaz, I think, was voted. No, Lewin Diaz was selected the player. So not one of ours. And that's the Pacific Coast League, actually. I don't know why they call it the AC. And we have another signing. Manny Salgado, 1-star potential. Don't have a rookie star. Kluber was the best pitcher. AL Best Bat Trophy. Ohtani, excuse me. Ohtani had the AL Best Bat in September, hitting 26 home runs. How did Ohtani do this year? So he had a pretty bad season as a pitcher, walking a lot of guys. At least he can hit. We have another prospect, not going to do very much. So that's catching up on just these messages. So thank you for joining me. We're going to finish today. We're just going to finish that. And what now we do is we move into the off season where we have to do all of our administration. We have to decide who we want to keep, who we want to let go, who we want to non-tender, who we want to not just non-tender, but who we want to sign, re-sign, etc. The arbitration is beginning. We have a lot of stuff here that we need to deal with, like Wade Davis's option year. So we're going to do all of that in our next sim. So thank you very much. That's going to kick off season 3. Thank you for joining me through season 2 of this Toronto Blue Jays career sim with a minor league focus. Definitely trying to bring as many guys from our minor leagues up to the majors as we can. But of course, that's going to take some time. So stick with us. We're going to try to turn things around in 2022, but also have a high draft pick. And thanks for joining me. I'm JayBlue at Jays From Away on Twitter, and you're watching the General Manager Games channel on YouTube. Have a great day, everybody.